Well, hey there. I'm just coming in from seeing patients, and I have to ask, why is it that we don't talk enough about intimacy when it comes to dementia care? I mean, seriously, if you think about it, why is something that's so fundamental to our human experience ignored? Or we even sweep it under a rug and we don't talk about it. Certainly not enough medical care providers talk about this at all. But as a nurse practitioner with over 25 years of experience in dementia care, I have seen this firsthand. I worked with hundreds of givers, visited countless assisted living and memory care units, and I can tell you this topic doesn't come up nearly as much as it should. Because here's the thing: intimacy, whether it's emotional or physical, is a basic human need. I mean, it's right there in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right alongside of safety, food, and shelter. We're talking about the need to feel connected, loved, and valued by someone we care about. Yet, when it comes to dementia care, we seem to get shy about addressing it. For years, I've had caregivers confide in me. They've shared how they miss their connection, how they miss their loved one. They used to have these feelings with their partner that aren't there anymore. Some grieve the loss of shared moments, while others are quietly longing for ways to bring back that spark, even if it looks different now. So let's talk about the environments, like the assisted living facilities, the memory care units, the senior housing. These places are meant to provide care and support, but privacy is often lacking and there are constant interruptions. It's no wonder intimacy becomes such a complicated and often neglected part of this big equation. But here's the truth: dementia doesn't erase the need for your person's connection or your connection. People living with dementia and you, the caregiver, still have emotional and physical needs. And these needs don't disappear just because of a diagnosis. In intimacy, it's not just about the physical closeness, but that matters too, of course. It's about feeling loved, understood, and valued. It's about those tiny little moments: a hug, a shared smile, or even just sitting quietly together. These are those things that can keep a bond open and alive, even as the other parts of your life are changing. So today, even though we don't talk about it, I want to talk about how intimacy evolves during the stages of dementia. And I want to look at practical ways to help you adapt and nurture that connection, no matter where your loved one is in their journey. Because at the end of the day, love doesn't fade, it just kind of transforms and grows. And it's our job to figure out how we can hang on to those little moments. So when we talk about dementia, we often focus on things like memory loss, communication difficulties, sometimes even changes in behavior. But what often left out is the conversation about how these changes impact our intimacy, because dementia affects every aspect of our life. And that includes how we express love and connection. In those early stages, when your loved one might become frustrated with themselves for forgetting things, or they might start to pull away emotionally because they're afraid of how things are changing. And maybe as the disease progresses, verbal communication becomes harder and the moods start to shift, and physical touch might even feel unnatural or even uncomfortable for both of you. We have to find a way to fix this. And for you, there's often a sense of grief, not just because you're losing a person piece by piece, but for the relationship like it once was. That's real and it's valid. And it's completely okay to feel that way. But here's the thing: intimacy doesn't have to disappear because dementia changes the way you connect. It's about redefining what intimacy looks like, adapting it to meet your loved one right where they are. And some of you might be thinking, well, why is this so important? Well, because intimacy, whether it's emotional, physical, or even spiritual, reminds your loved one that they're not alone, and it provides comfort and security and a sense of belonging. For your person with dementia, these moments of connection can reduce their anxiety, it can lower agitation. Your touch, your smile, or simply your presence can ground them, it can bring them back around, especially when so much of their world feels so uncertain. And oh my gosh, let's not forget about you, the caregiver, because maintaining intimacy can give you a sense of purpose and remind you of the bond that's still there, even if it's different now, because that's what help keeps that spark alive. Even when your journey feels overwhelming, that person's still your person. And the truth is, intimacy has that incredible ability to transcend all the cognitive changes that dementia brings. Because it's not just about remembering the past, it's about creating small moments of love right now in the present. And of course, this isn't always easy because as caregivers, you face so many challenges when it comes to intimacy. For one, there's the emotional toll because watching someone you love change in ways that you can't control is super heartbreaking. And many of the caregivers that I work with tell me they feel guilt and sadness, anger, maybe even a little hostile at times. And that's okay. We need to start normalizing those feelings because these feelings are a part of the journey. And when there's communication issues, dementia can make it harder for your loved one to express their thought or their emotions. And that can create a ton of misunderstanding or even create some distance between you and your loved one. And let's go back to that environment thing. If your loved one is in an assisted living or memory care community or senior housing, privacy can be a huge issue because I've seen caregivers struggle with constant interruptions, a knock at the door, or a lack of space to have those intimate moments. And it can feel like there's no room for physical or even emotionally connecting with your loved one. And this is where we, as caregivers and advocates, need to get comfortable with having all of these conversations because they matter. If intimacy is an important part of your relationship and it is important to you, it's certainly worth bringing it up with your loved one's care team and or the assisted living where they live. And I know that this can feel awkward because how do you even start this conversation? So because it's uncomfortable, right? So I'm going to give you 2 ways that you can look at that. So the first way to help you is you can start by normalizing the topic. You could say something like, "One thing that's important to us as part of my person," we'll call him Fred, "as part of Fred's care is maintaining our connection." So whether that's spending quiet time with him in his room or ensuring that we have privacy for meaningful moments, how can we work that into the plan of care? And by framing it as a natural part of their overall care, you're showing that this is important to you. Another way that you can do this is you might say, I've noticed that the small moments that we share of closeness can really help calm my loved one, and they can make him, her feel super secure. What can we do to make sure that we have those private, comfortable moments and that we have space for that? Does it look like putting locks on our door, a do not disturb sign? What can we do? Do we tell the staff, don't bother us right now? Because this shifts the focus to your loved one's emotional and physical well being, which is something that we as care providers should always prioritize. These conversations can certainly feel uncomfortable. And I know in medicine, we don't often bring it up with our geriatric patient population, but we should be. And it's important. And you need to remember that you're advocating for your loved ones' dignity and their humanity and for their right to feel loved and valued no matter where they are in their dementia journey. And at the end of the day, intimacy is about connection. There's lots of definitions for the word intimacy, but I'm talking about connection and where your person might be now. It's about showing love in ways that matter most now, whether that's a hug, a shared laugh, or just sitting together in silence. Meet your person where they are. Because dementia changes so many things, but it doesn't change the need for love and it doesn't take away our ability to give that love. So if you're having this conversation with your provider or care team and it feels super overwhelming, you're definitely not alone. Because sometimes the hardest part is knowing where to start or where to begin.